Thank you. I appreciate that. Next, we need approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Agenda is now approved. Mr. Martin, Mr. Adams, would you lead us in the invocation?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Martin, in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise, remove your hats.
Let us bow. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this day that you've given us coming into the county building here to conduct county business. Dear Lord, we also ask you to be with the family of the young man that perished this past week in the Mill Creek Lake and give them strength over the coming days, months, and years of healing. Dear Lord, we also want to thank you for all the citizens that have spent time to come out and spend their evening with us and conduct county business, and we want you to ask for their safe travels on their way home. Dear Lord, we also ask you to give us strength between the board members and county staff. We ask you to be with our public safety folks, fire, EMS, and law enforcement as they carry out a difficult task day in and day out and make sure that they stay safe. As we move forward, thank you for giving us that time here, and all those things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Next, we will go to citizen comment. And I know that a lot of you all signed up downstairs on the form. If you are here for something that's under public hearing, this is not the time to speak. If you are here for something other than what we're here for in public hearing, now is the time to speak. Having said that, is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing and hearing none, we will now close citizen comment and move on to the public hearing. Because several of these public hearings have gotten a lot of enthusiasm from our community, we're going to use our timer. The timer will limit you to 3 minutes. I'm going to adhere. Excuse me?
I'm sorry, I just cleared my throat.
And I'm going to adhere to that, 3 minutes. I want everybody to be respectful, and I want everybody to have the opportunity to speak if they so choose. That's why we're limited to 3 minutes. When you get close, I'm going to say something. Don't keep rambling on, please. Thank you. Now, having said all that, we will open it up to ordinance 2024-2, public safety, and Mr. Beam is going to present that to us.
Madam
I'm sorry.
Chair,
Okay.
before we start, I just need to make a statement that I do currently serve as the chief of Amherst Fire Department, and this ordinance does not solely affect Amherst Fire Department, so I believe I can fairly participate in these discussions.
Thank you for that, Mr. Martin.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Chief. Captain.
Good evening. Thank you all for having us here tonight. You all know this has been a long journey. Started way back, actually before I came here when Mr. Bryant was still the Public Safety Director. The board had asked for an evaluation through the Virginia Fire Services Board. We started that process. That process went through. They came in, they made findings, they made recommendations. You all met with fire and EMS from throughout the county. We came back with a draft ordinance based on guidance that was given to Mr. Popovich. He did a great job of kind of wordsmithing that and putting that together. That's an ordinance that was presented to you all at your last meeting. You all gave some feedback. Those were included and were advertised as such. And I won't read the entire ordinance to you tonight. We'd be here a long time, but I'm happy to answer any questions before the public hearing.
Thank you, sir. Board members, any questions before we open it up for public comment?
I'll save my comments till after
Okay.
we open it up for public comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Adams. All right, we're now going to open up the public hearing for ordinance 2024-2, public safety. Anyone here wishing to speak on this issue? Mr. Rokes, I understand you've signed up. And when you all come up, if you just state your name and if you know the district that you live in.
Good evening, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. I'm Gary Rokes. I live in District 4, Mr. Pugh's district. And this is an anomaly for me because I think this is the first time I've ever spoke to you as a citizen and not as a former director of public safety. So anyway, obviously I'm still very passionate about the public safety arena and serving any way we can. But anyway, I feel like I'm fairly well versed in this arena. I spent 21 years as volunteer with my loss and rescue squad, 11 I think of which was captain. Then also 13 years as director of public safety for Amherst County. So a total of about 34 years of serving the county in some capacity in fire and EMS. I am in favor of the ordinance change. I encourage the board, I think it's 2024-2. I'm in favor of that ordinance, and also I would encourage you as a board to be in favor of that ordinance as well. I think that ordinance, the way it's written, will help move the fire and EMS agencies and service to Amherst County citizens forward. This is something that the board has not heard the first time. I believe it was in 2013 when I was director was our last fire service board review. And in those findings, I think you'll see they sort of repeat a lot of the things they had this time. I haven't seen this year's report, but talking to Director Beam and Chief Beam, I think some of the findings are the same thing we discussed back in 2013. So here we are 11 years later talking about the same topics all over again. Anyway, going through the ordinance changes I've seen, there's not a lot of changes. The structure's already there. Back in 2006, when the public safety ordinance was last revised, a lot of the structure from a reporting standpoint and oversight from the Director of Public Safety is already there. So not a lot of structure change to it. There are some new things that Chief Beam and the Emergency Services Council has added, which again I agree with, and I think would be good to help move the county as a whole forward. Couple of things, as we've seen a lot of changes in the public safety arena in the last 20 years. Mr. Adams, myself, and Mr. Scott Bryant were captains of the volunteer rescue squads back in the, 90s and early 2000s and stuff. I think it was in 2003 or 2004 when we brought the first career staff onto Amherst County for EMS. We hired 6 paramedics. That was at the request of us 3 captains. We recognized that at the time the citizens needed more service, and at the time the sheriff's office was taking deputies off the road to run EMS calls to serve the citizens. You've heard that many times before. So anyway, moving forward, as the years have changed, society has changed, training requirements have changed, those type of things. We've added more, particularly EMS folks who are cross-trained in fire suppression, as we had that foresight many years ago to serve citizens. As that's changed, we continue to provide a high level of care to the citizens. And again, I think these changes will be beneficial to the citizens of Amherst County. Ultimately, you as a board have the liability and responsibility for the services provided in Amherst County. I think you know that. Other thing is the amount of funding that the board provides to these volunteer agencies nowadays is phenomenal. And again, I congratulate you and applaud you for providing those funds to the citizens and to the agencies in the county, as it's something that's been needed for a long time. So again, I congratulate you on that. I encourage you to vote to adopt this ordinance. I think it will help move the fire and EMS agencies forward and creating the Amherst County Department of Fire and EMS. And the structure's there. All we need to do is just change the name and keep moving forward. So I thank you. And again, I'd like to also thank Chief Beam and his innovations and things he's brought forward to the department in the last year and a half since he's been here. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing and hearing none, we're now going to close the public hearing on 2024-2 public safety. Board members?
Madam Chair, the only thing I would like to comment on is, and as I stated in the last board meeting when we voted to move this thing to public hearing tonight, I think the Emergency Services Council, in conjunction with Chief Beam and his staff, the volunteer leadership, as we have brought these changes to the Emergency Services Council, we've spent an ample amount of time on this. I think everybody that would agree, since the beginning of the year, and it's been a very transparent process, extremely transparent, and that was done on purpose. So, as I stated before, I think we did not have to take the steps that we did to come to this point, but I think these were the right steps to make. I stand behind Mr. Rokes' comments. I think it's a necessary change. A lot of the code that we are adopting or proposing to adopt tonight, let me correct that, the structure's already there. We're just changing a few terminology and strengthening a few items that will protect our people. And ultimately, that's what we have to do. We have to protect our providers, we have to protect our responders, and we have to protect our citizens. And that's the purpose of what we do in public safety. So with that being said, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2024-2.
All right, the motion is on the floor by Mr. Adams to adopt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair says aye. Opposed, no. Motion is adopted. Thank you, sir. All right, next we will move on to the VDOT Rural Rustic Priority List for fiscal year 25 and 30. I understand we're going to go about this a little bit different than we have in the past. We're not going to read everything, but just since it's been before us on the first reading, so we can just move forward. You can explain it, and then we'll open up a public hearing.
Okay. I guess in addressing the board, we did have our work session and we went through the first reading and we looked at the allocations and we looked at the projects that were in the previous 6-year plan, and we looked at the projects that we could add, and we've added those. We've changed the priorities. We put the priorities as the board wishes. And, it's a pretty aggressive plan. And we're just happy that we can continue to move forward in hard surfacing these unpaved roads in Amherst County and getting some folks out of the dust, so.
Ms. Brown, we certainly appreciate everything that you have done. And that's a very popular issue here, is trying to get some of these roads that are still dirt. I've got them in my area. I think everybody here's got some. And trying to get the funding to get those paved. So we thank you for everything that you've done. So we will now open this up to public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak? Seeing and hearing none, we will close the public hearing and turn it over to the board members. Board members, any questions?
I appreciate the requested road from my constituent being added to the list. We know it'll take a while, but very important to get it on this list. And with that, if no one else has any comments, I move that the board approve the priority list ranking as proposed and amended.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Ms.
Appreciate you. Next, we have Special Exception 2024-141, Charles Callaway. Mr. Creasy?
Sorry about that, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Board, good to see you all tonight. Request 2024-141 is from Charles Callaway for a special exception in the A1 Agricultural Residential District. The purpose of this special exception is to allow a short-term tourist rental of a dwelling. The property is located at 103 Nakanaha Lane and is further identified as tax map number 120-7-5. The parcel is roughly 10 acres large. As indicated, is zoned A1 agricultural residential with a single-family dwelling located on it. The map before you see that there is no address. This is a new build, and that certificate of occupancy was issued by the building department on April 21st, 2024. This has private water and sewer, and this property is not in the designated growth boundary for either of those. As indicated, there's currently one single-family dwelling located on the property. The surrounding area, as you can see in generally, has the same characteristics as the requested parcel. The property is surrounded by agriculturally zoned property with single-family dwellings located all around the entire parcel. Within the staff report, Section 916, which goes over the rules and regulations for the short-term tourist rental of a dwelling, as well as the requirements of a special exception. Planning Commission's recommendation can be found in the item summary with the recommended conditions from the commission. Staff is not planning to go over these as they are boilerplate in nature to the rest of the Airbnbs that have come before you. At this time, are there any questions for staff?
Board members? Thank you, Mr. Creasy.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will open up the public hearing for 2024-141. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor? Please state your name.
Hi, we are Chad and Karis Calloway, so we own the property. And just a little bit about ourselves. We are residents of Lynchburg. I've been here about 10 years. He's been here about 30 plus years. So we kind of achieved his lifelong goal of owning land in Virginia. In January of 2022, we've put a lot of blood, sweat, tears, muscles, effort, energy into the cabin, and we're really proud of it. And I think at the last meeting there was some concerns about that. I think the board addressed well, but just we want to echo and highlight, concerns about noise, and just like tenants ending up, on other people's property, as we can do in the country, end up other places. But we take a vested interest in who ends up in the cabin. We're going to vet these people. It's a tiny cabin. It's 10 acres, about 700 square foot cabin. And Airbnb has a no party policy. Our cabin has 2 beds, so it's going to be small kind of parties. But we are interested in kind of people. Our target market's kind of like retirees, honeymooners, people who want to sit on the deck, drink a cup of coffee, enjoy the view, and
Retreat.
yeah, a retreat.
Retreat.
So, we've put a lot of energy and effort into it, and we're just looking forward to kind of sharing it. And we are going to invest in signs to kind of make sure people get to where they're going. So, did you have any?
So yeah, we hope that you would approve this for us and let us make this happen.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor? Just give us your name, please.
My name's Terry Phillips. I live immediately next door to the cabin. As a matter of fact, I'm the only neighbor here that can actually see it from my own home. When I moved in, I bought the property in January of 20, and the cabin was vacant and pretty dilapidated. It had been pretty run down, and just which attracted me to the property, the fact that it was very private, because you have to go back the driveway and up over a hill to even see either of our structures. Excuse me. So when the property came up for sale, I was a bit upset because my privacy was going to be completely invaded. But when I met these folks, I was concerned because I didn't want to lose my privacy, and they said that it was just going to be a vacation cabin, and which was great, made me happy. So as far as I have no problem with them renting it out. I know there's major regulations and internal in the Airbnb organization. They do internal backup checks and so forth, and I have no problem with them being there. I'm guessing the dogs next door probably make more noise than this cabin ever will. There's got to be, if it was going to be, I was thinking of, I was picturing a family moving in there. Plenty of room to build a big house. But with this being Airbnb, I don't see them but maybe every week or two. There's going to be a whole lot less traffic than if it was, an actual single-family dwelling. They have invested tens of thousands of dollars in this property as well, raising all of our property values. The cabinet's beautiful now. They have worked their tails off for quite some time. And it's really come out nicely, and I'm happy for them. And I hate to see them run off because they can't supplement their income trying to pay for this place. They did bite off a little bit more than they chew. They could chew, I do believe. But anyway, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone here wishing to speak opposed? Yeah, just give us your name, please.
Kaylin Gear. Gear, G-E-A-R.
Okay.
I live in the property directly across from that. I'm not sure if you, the one where the big box is, big white box is. A lot of my concerns are for safety. Obviously, we have tertiary roads leading in. We have no lines on those roads. You guys know how those roads are. And we already have a lot of people out there who have a hard time negotiating those shoulders that drop off 6 inches. So they have a tendency not to yield too much. So my concern, obviously, is with people coming in who are unfamiliar with where they're going. And this is, we've already talked about this kind of thing in the last meeting that we did. So I'm going to go down some of my points. The tertiary road, aside from it not having lines and having low shoulders, if you're going to drag a trailer or be unfamiliar with the territory, it can be a little hazardous, as you know, but it's not life ender. It just can be hazardous. The state route Stallings Lane ends at the top of the hill immediately after 103, which is a hidden drive to the left. I used to keep my horses in that field, and I know in a small car you can turn in without a problem, but if you're dragging anything else, a boat, a trailer, an oversized vehicle, you probably will have to back up into the neighbor's driveway. And I know people are saying, no, but really, you're only talking about 12, 15 feet. So, a car with a trailer is going to be much larger. I'm just talking about congestion at this point. And the reason why I say this is because over on the Stallings property, which is everything to the left of mine, we have at least 10 families, all the Stallings and their relatives, and most of them are very sick and elderly. Ambulances in all the time. So we have a little bit of an issue as far as congestion and the confluence of that, since this was all to be 2 farms that were connected as a family foundational area. Aside from that, my property, and I talked about this before, I get a lot of trespassers, and I'm not mad about that, but it turns out to be a liability sometimes. People come up and they're lost, but they're hunting. Or they're lost and they're not going to leave unless I say something to them. We've had several of those issues, and quite frankly, I just want to live in peace. I don't want to be confronting everybody who comes down my road, if you understand what I mean. So that brings me to my final, and I was going to say something about the police response. I used to be on the sheriff's department, and I know that being out here, sometimes you'll get the north end of the county, or you'll get way over there on 60, or someplace where you're supposed to know those back roads well. But the state is mostly addressing accidents and something of a higher level. So the county is dealing with domestics, and they're dealing, basic stuff. The last time we asked them to come out
30
was 4
seconds
hours. Okay. So my final concern, of course, is money. Property value. These are largely unregulated businesses, and until Amherst County can make regulations that are specific to our area, I would ask that you hold off on these Airbnbs until these foundational communities can get it together enough to understand what this is. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gear. Anyone else here wishing to speak opposed? Seeing and hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Board members, what's your pleasure? Or do you have any questions of Mr. Creasy? Oh, I'm sorry. I turned my head. Please, excuse my apologies. Did not mean to be rude.
Hi there, folks. I'm John Lettingham. I am the developer of New Bethel Estates, which is this is a part of originally. I sold it to a friend of mine named Cole McCarthy. He built 3 pole sheds, and that's what these buildings are, and interconnected them with little walkways. He decorated them and did woodwork just outstandingly on the insides, but they are pole sheds nonetheless. I had a nice long talk with Nathan Young, that's one of y'all's inspectors, and he went out and looked at it and said, yep, they're pole sheds. But he said Amherst County had a little niche somewhere allowing wood foundations. If we had a derecho come up East Persh Road and it hit one of these buildings, it would probably lift it off. There were no provisions made for cabling them in place or anything like that. They are pole sheds underneath. So that's been my complaint about it. My subdivision, New Bethel Estates, has its own architectural committee. That's pretty good. That's something that Amherst should have on some of our subdivision things. But anyway, the subdivision was on Mr. McCarthy regularly because he refused to comply with the regulations and building codes within the subdivision. And the person that holds that position is Wayne Deacon. He's been an engineer for 30 or 40 years with English construction, so he knows what he's talking about. And the houses weren't to the code of New Bethel Estates or this grouping of buildings, and they really shouldn't be to the code of Amherst County. I mean, what prevents people from going out and buying one of these little houses on the side of 29, the sheds, and setting it on poles and making a house out of it? Nathan said there was nothing you can do about it because it was done in stages. There were no permits issued. They got a permit for a septic finally. But again, if you seem to build something in Amherst County and it takes you several years or 3 or 4 to do it, you can sometimes get by without having permits. I would be against this for that reason because it doesn't really meet codes the way I see them.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak opposed? Going once, going twice. All right. We've now closed the public hearing. Board members, what's your pleasure?
Question for the Callaways.
Yes, come forward, come to the mic, please.
So this is a new structure or this is a remodel?
It's a remodel.
Yeah, so can you respond to the pole barn thing?
It's been CO. We've done everything to get it up to code over the past 2.5 years.
Is that correct? Thank you very much.
What was the original age of this? When did that structure date back to?
The original structure was early 2000s.
Okay,
Yeah, built them over the course of a few years, I guess.
okay. Thank you, sir.
It's not going to blow away. You can come out and see it. It's
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions? Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, being this is in my district, it seems to be, and I respect the concerns from the folks that are opposing this. However, there seems to be a pretty low impact request here on that area. And with that being said, and also, you know, we can debate as far as the construction of the structure. However, if it's met the CO requirements and the county and state code, then, you know, it's difficult for us to debate that. So with that being said, I make a motion that we approve a special exception 2024-141, Charles Callaway.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Adams. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair says aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Board, this request 2024-154 is from Alexis Fisher for a special exception in the A1 Agricultural Residential District. The purpose of this special exception is to allow a photography venue and special events place for weddings and other similar uses. As you can see before you, the property is located at 219 Phyllis Lee Drive and is further identified as tax map number 122A-1-24. The parcel is approximately 5 acres large, as indicated is zoned A1 with an existing single-family dwelling and accessory structures. There's private water and sewer on the property, and this property is not in our designated growth boundary for either of those. The surrounding area in general has the same characteristics as the requested parcel. As you can see, the subject parcel is surrounded by single-family dwellings to the north, south, and west with vacant farmland directly east or right across from Phyllis Lee Road. The applicant proposes to make use of the greenhouse and pavilion on the parcel for the special events and photography venue. There is a concept plan within the staff report as well as her plan in her application for you to view. And the applicant also is proposing to use the existing single-family dwelling as an area to get ready for special events. Within the staff report, there are requirements for a special exception, and then I'd like to go over a few of the conditions as they are not typically seen with other event spaces. One, lighting, glare shielded and directed to prevent illumination across property lines. Sewage facilities, you must follow all regulations as depicted from the Department of Health. For parking, guests shall be required to park on the property and not on neighboring property or on the right-of-way. Number of guests, there shall be no more than 100 guests permitted at any single event. Item number 5, which indicates transportation, the entrance onto the property shall meet Virginia Department of Transportation's low-volume commercial entrance standards, which should be no issue as that is a 30-foot radii for that entrance. For public safety, the owner shall meet all requirements set forth by Director of Public Safety as it has to do with access to the property. For traffic, you must have events larger than, you must have a parking attendant shall be directing traffic with events greater than 75 guests. Noise, no music is played after 10 p.m. And lastly, regarding notification, the applicant shall mail out notifications 30 days in advance of any special event to all property owners along Phyllis Lee Drive and Kimberly Road. With that, within your item summary for this special exception, there is Planning Commission's recommendation as well as staff's recommended conditions should you choose to go the other way. Planning Commission voted to deny or recommend denial of this special exception 4.2, and that can be seen within your item summary. At this time, are there any questions for staff?
Madam Chair. Mr. Creasy, you said that the main residence would be used for changing that kind of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Is it still going to continue to be the petitioner's primary residence?
For right now, as I understand, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we open the public hearing? Thank you, Mr. Creasy.
Thank you.
All right, we will now open the public hearing for special exception 2024-154. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward, give us your name, and I will remind the group of the 3-minute limit on testimony.
Thank you. Okay. You can give it to Madam Chair.
Before I start my speech,
Just give us your name.
oh, I'm sorry, Alexis Fisher. Before I begin my speech, in the public committee meeting, I didn't mention anything about using the home for getting ready. I cleared that up in my email about the Airbnb. That's where the idea originated, was me using the one-bedroom apartment for getting ready. When my direct neighbor expressed concern for Airbnb, I said, no more, I'm taking it out. So there is no getting ready on my property because it makes my direct neighbor uncomfortable. That wasn't discussed at the planning committee. I don't know why it was brought up tonight. So I just wanted to clear that up before I talk. Okay, good evening. My husband and I, along with many supporters, are here tonight in hopes to gain your approval for a special exception permit on our property. We have a very unique, beautiful greenhouse that has been able to host photo shoots, small events, and a few micro weddings over the last year. I do want to take a moment to formally apologize for not having the correct permit in place. I was completely unaware of it, and I promise the moment that I found out, I began working diligently to get everything done properly and approved. I would like to take a moment to explain how our micro venue differs from a larger scale wedding venue. A typical wedding venue can have 200+ guests. We are well under that number, asking for an approval of 100 guests max. We are not priced anywhere close to a typical wedding venue, as they average $8,000 to $30,000. We are well under that bracket. Out of the 10 total events that we have hosted, 5 had 35 guests or less, 4 had 50 or less, and 1 had about 12 guests. In our recent months, we've had many inquiries for 4-person elopements or events with a guest count of 25 or less, but I just wanted to point out those numbers to you to show you that a majority of our events are for 50 or less, but we have a few inquiries coming in for 80 to 100. I have the space. I would like to accommodate up to 100 max. Our pavilion was built in December of 2023 to accommodate the 80 to 100 guests. The pavilion serves as a backup rain plan. Ceremonies take place in the front yard of the greenhouse, but if it were to rain, the Glass House Pavilion is a beautiful backup plan instead of a white circus-looking tent rental. Our operating hours would be between 9 and 10, with an event cutoff time of 10. Quiet hours in Amherst County begin at 11. All of our previous events ended by 9 or much earlier on their very own. We would require carpooling for events of 50 to 100. Our contract that you have a copy of mentions the requirement for carpooling, along with a parking attendant for 50 to 100. Vehicles park neatly along the right side of the driveway, and the middle is left open for ingress and egress. Cars are always parked on our property. We have 557 feet of driveway one way, and this is a visual of what our property layout looks like. And here is another point of view. I did want to provide photos of me measuring the driveway to show you that it was accurately measured with a measuring wheel. Up until the sign was put into our yard in February, no one in our neighborhood besides our immediate neighbors even knew that we were hosting special events. In front of you, you will see a message sent to me on Facebook from Lauren Slayton, who is a Phyllis Lee Drive resident, stating that she was completely unaware of such events until the sign was in our yard. That's when she looked us up. She believes that our area needs an event space such as ours, and she's in full support of us. I ask that you please read her letter that is printed out for you. She also spoke with Ms. Tucker on the phone to show her support. I have done my due diligence, sending out clear driving directions to all persons coming to our property. I have been doing so since the very beginning of hosting any events or photography sessions, as I wanted to avoid any disturbance to any surrounding neighbors. I provided a copy of those driving directions to each of you in my contract. We have a wooden sign with our logo that is placed at the end of the driveway to clearly show where cars need to turn. It was a previous concern stated by a neighbor that our traffic would be a disturbance to Kimberly Road. That's not state maintained. I personally have seen all vehicles entering and exiting my driveway. I can guarantee you that a car did not go down Kimberly Road. This is an example of me typing my address into Google Maps from the mall. It did not direct me anywhere near Kimberly Road, and any of us in this room can test this out tonight on any sort of maps on our phones with any starting location. Most of, if not all of the letters that were sent in from photographers or event guests have specifically stated they never approached Kimberly and maps never told them to turn there. That was roughly 12 letters and counting that were sent in from visitors on my property. One of our self-imposed conditions is to purchase road signs and place them in accordance with VDOT regulations to ensure that no cars would ever enter Kimberly Road. We have 643 feet of separating us from Kimberly Road, and 635 feet of that are thick woods between the greenhouse and Kimberly to act as a sound barrier. We have 1,217 feet separating us from the Fresh Hours home, who previously stated their concerns of noise disturbances. Again, 635 feet of that are thick woods to act as a sound buffer. This is a drone shot showing how close the Mays house is to our greenhouse versus how far it is from the Lettingham and the Fresh Hours homes. Hannah Mays and Alex Wright would be the first ones affected the most by the noise, and they have expressed that they have been unbothered and they are in favor of us. Her house is directly behind us. Their front porch faces our greenhouse, and they have a clear view of our lighting. One event that we had, they were completely unaware of it while they had guests over. Sharon Mays, who's a witness here tonight, also stated that she never knew that an event was taking place. But my direct neighbors do know our integrity and our promise to always host with class and respect. We have 1,428 feet separating us from the Gregorys, who previously stated that my music was rattling their windows. 630 feet of that are woods, acting as a sound buffer. Here I am showing you how close my immediate neighbors are. All of them are in support of our business and have personally stated they've never been bothered in the past by music or guests. They are the closest homes to us, and they are all in favor. A leaf blower is about 100 decibels, which is the same decibel level as our Bluetooth speaker that would be used in events. In the interest of respecting our neighbors, even though the current ordinances do not have set decibel limits or prohibit DJs, live bands, or amplified sound, we have chosen on our own to force our own sound restrictions and do not allow these things at our venue. And as the current ordinances don't enforce such things, everything we've previously done has met the current ordinances. Approval of our special exception would allow us to continue to have the following impact from a county business revenue standpoint. We provide a local vendor list for our clients, which translates to additional generated revenue for Amherst County. Our guests would utilize local hotels, bed and breakfasts, restaurants, and shopping and entertainment. The micro-sized nature of the proposed special exception permit is proportional to the property size and will not inhibit the intended purpose as described in section for Zone A1. Three Oaks Manor does have a community impact. We promise to maintain and protect the current state of privacy and tranquility that current residents on Phyllis Lee already enjoy. We would facilitate the creation of a convenient, attractive, and harmonious community by going above and beyond the requirements outlined in the Amherst zoning ordinance. It's not working. Okay. We would continue to prevent congestion in any public streets by using our private property for parking, and we will maintain open communication for any neighboring concerns. We do monitor all events to maintain the secluded nature of the neighborhood. Three Oaks Manor has a small business impact as we would continue to support economical development as described in the Amherst County Development Plan. We would continue to encourage, we would continue to encourage economic development activities by providing work for vendors both in and outside of the wedding industry. We provide and generate business for local small businesses, our florists, our local caterers, our restaurants, our photographers, our videographers, our event planners, the list goes on. We do have returning clients because we offer different setups and designs throughout the year, so we're not a one-time use facility. Some of our clients are actual neighbors that have used our space. For our current clients, we would love and appreciate the opportunity to fulfill our 2 wedding contracts and all of our photographer sessions that we already have booked. And for our future clients, our surrounding counties all house the larger wedding venues. But Three Oaks Manor fulfills the need for an affordable, small-scale wedding that offers uniqueness. We would love the opportunity to continue to serve the non-related clients for baby showers, bridal showers, engagement parties, birthdays, and more. This business has become a large part of our livelihood because we utilize most, if not all, of our savings to build what is there today. This allows me to work from home and raise our children. If this doesn't get approved, we will face great financial hardship, and in today's economy, that is something that is terrifying for us as parents. Three Oaks Manor has offered an affordable space for so many events for an entire year without disturbing any neighbors. Couples in today's economy desire the unique spaces to say I do or to host a baby and bridal shower while staying in a controlled budget. We have even reached West Virginia and North Carolina families that made the drive just for our Christmas photography that we offered and for one of the weddings last year. And along with that, again, we are supporting dozens and dozens of photographers that feed their families. I feel that our point has been proven by the letter sent in and our social media response by so many people that know us that our greenhouse has served so many amazing people. It's well loved and it's admired by many. It plays a special role in the lives of so many beautiful couples, getting to propose and saying I do in such a serene and unique environment. To see this business end because of false traffic and noise allegations would be a complete devastation to not only my family and our finances, but to the community of so many that are helping us to keep this business going. We are already in accordance with all the requirements for this special exception. And this is a screenshot from the website. And then I'll quickly just go through our self-imposed conditions that we put in place to help ease the concerns. Our music will be off by 10. We will have no PA systems with microphones. We will have no more than 100 people. We will purchase road signs and place them in accordance with VDOT regulations on the roads to assure that there will be no traffic on Kimberly. We will have full staff working each event to monitor guests. We will send out event notices 30 days before each event by certified mail to our neighbors. We will have 1 to 2 porta potties delivered the day before each event, as no one is allowed to access the house restrooms. We will continue to invest in landscaping, as we already have planted 25 leland trees along the right line of our property. And just this past month, we've invested a large amount in additional landscaping around the greenhouse itself, large trees. So in conclusion, Austin and I hope that you are able to see our efforts in keeping our business running, how much it truly means to us, not only us, but all the ones that are standing here tonight in support and the ones that have sent in letters, and our social media following that we have. We did have 589 people and counting sign a petition in our favor to keep our business going. We hope that you can see how this benefits Amherst as a whole and how it helps financially support our citizens.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support? Give us your name, please,
My name is Megan Vaughn, and I live
if you know it.
in Bedford County. As a young family and a small business owner, I sympathize with the Fishers and their situation. I know from firsthand experience exactly what they're going through because we went through this exact situation last year in Bedford County. We've been hosting micro weddings at our backyard greenhouse since 2020. Between 2020 and 2022, we hosted about 100 events, while 99% of our neighbors had no idea what we were doing. One bordering neighbor did because we shared a driveway that we own and they had easement to. And for 3 years, there was no issue. Then we got a letter in the mail from Bedford County. Like the Fishers, we had no idea we needed a special use permit. After that, we entered into this exact same situation. The sign went up in our yard, and our neighbors, who had no idea we even existed, came out of the woodwork and expressed the exact same concerns: the sound, the extra traffic, and the restroom situation. Our business is very similar to the Fishers. We have self-imposed rules that we strictly follow. We have set guest limits, set sound limits, and set time limits. Our differences are proportional to the land that we're on. We are zoned residential. We have 2 acres of land. The Fishers are zoned agricultural and have 5 acres. We restrict the vehicle number for up to 50 guests. The Fishers have more land and more space, so they're able to host up to 100. We do not allow DJs or amplified sound, and neither do the Fishers, even though Amherst County ordinances would allow them to do so. Bedford County's sound ordinance is 60 decibels at the property line, but Amherst County does not have a decibel limit. Sound cutoff is also 11 p.m. The Fishers have stated they would cut sound at 10. Porta potties are brought in for restroom use. They don't access their home. They post signage and have staff directing guests to their road and park all vehicles on their private property so neighboring roads are not accessed. Unlike our situation, the Fishers' bordering neighbors are not opposed. They are all in favor. At our Board of Supervisors meeting, this exact meeting for this exact type of business, our Bedford County Board of Supervisors gave us a 7-0 unanimous vote in our favor. Bedford County could see no reason to deny us the right to continue our small family business on our 2-acre residentially zoned dirt road. The rules we set for ourselves are the same rules that the county set for us, and we follow them with our special use permit. The Fishers would do the same. I'd also like to encourage the board to see this business for what a huge tourism opportunity this is for Amherst County. Wedding guests book local hotels, eat at local restaurants, shop local stores, and support other local small businesses like Alexis stated. Anytime they have a wedding, the local economy is positively impacted, and this growth potential for the county should be encouraged. If Bedford County allows...
Ma'am, your time is up.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Talia Coleman. I'm not aware of what district I'm in.
Are you
My
from
husband and I are-
Amherst?
My husband and I are closing on a property here the first week of June.
I'm sorry, say that again?
We're closing on a property in Amherst County the first week of June. I don't know what district that will be yet.
Okay.
Good evening. My husband and I are members of the small business community here, as well as soon-to-be residents of Amherst County. We are also patrons of the Fishers business. One of the events hosted by them was our engagement party. We had about 50 people in attendance, and our event was quietly concluded by 8:30 p.m. I have seen the Fishers jump through many hoops to conduct their businesses in the proper legal fashion that suits everyone, only to be bombarded by hatred and an unheeding attitude that seemingly has stemmed from boredom. It was stated by the opposing parties at the last meeting that the patrons of the Fishers business must turn down Kimberly Road in order to reach the Three Oaks Manor property. This statement is false, as the GPS does not route people down Kimberly Road. I have GPSed it from several different locations. The Fishers' immediate neighbors have no opposition to this permit being granted and have even stated that oftentimes they have been unaware that an event was even occurring. Yet somehow neighbors further down the road and even on completely different roads have been so utterly disturbed by the ongoing events as far as to state that they have been tormented by the events ongoing for the last 18 months. I ask you that if they have been so perturbed by the disturbances that these events have allegedly caused to them, where are all of the noise complaints via 911, non-emergency calls, social media posts, etc.? Where are the attempts to speak to and reach a resolution with the Fishers? You will not find any, because until a sign was placed in their yard, as Megan and Alexis both stated, notifying them of public hearing, they were none the wiser. Contamination of the spring house was something that was brought up at the last planning committee event, and that was a concern of the opposition, which is completely irrelevant, as the Fishers have provided porta potties and made those a requirement at every function that they have hosted. Another concern brought up is that the neighbors would somehow be liable for someone getting intoxicated, driving into a lake, getting into an accident, you name it. We heard it at the planning committee. This notion is inflammatory, exaggerated, and like many of the oppositions presented, untrue. There are checks and balances in place in our governmental proceedings for a reason. You, as the board, obviously know that. The self-imposed conditions, which Alexis listed in her presentation tonight, were more than generous to the opposing parties. Should these not be followed, then the proper channels to revoke the permit are in place. As someone who has known the Fishers for years and has personally been in business with them, I can assure you that these conditions will be adhered to. We see
30 seconds.
Okay. We see plenty of event spaces locally that cost an arm and a leg, and Three Oaks Manor is the exception to that. In conclusion, the Fishers and their business have brought thousands and thousands of dollars in revenue to Amherst County, and they will continue to do so. I ask that you consider, when voting tonight, the nepotism and exclusionary acts that those opposing the Fishers have taken and the hatred that has been spewed against them. You have in front of you a young, hardworking, and dedicated couple who's trying to make a living for their family, and they will continue to contribute to the
Your time
small
is up.
business here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else who are wishing to speak in favor of?
Hello, I'm Jewel Newman, and I live next door, 500 and some feet away, and I have no opposition to this event. I was opposed to the Airbnb because of people coming and going, not knowing, but with them there controlling the environment, I have no opposition. I didn't even know they were having events except for one time. It was, I guess, a PA system, which they're not going to use anymore. And that was just minimum. I mean, like 15 minutes. It was like, you know, when they were doing the toast thing for the bride and groom. They have been excellent neighbors. I can't say enough good about them. I just hope that y'all will consider the immediate neighbors, that their land actually touches them. We have no opposition, and I know the Cashes and Mays do not, and I think some of them are here tonight also. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is Rachel Vest. I live in District 3. Ladies and gentlemen, Tonight is not just about issuing a special exemption permit. It is about giving two hardworking, dedicated entrepreneurs the chance they deserve. The Fishers have gone above and beyond, implementing self-imposed conditions to address and cater to the concerns of the opposing. By embracing these conditions, they're showing accountability and a commitment to turning their dream into reality. Most importantly, her 3 adjoining neighbors stand in favor of their endeavor. As a resident deeply invested in Amherst County and the event industry, I recognize the dire need for affordable venue options. What Austin and Alexis aspire to offer is precisely what our community lacks: an intimate backyard event space at accessible pricing. This venture isn't just about economic growth. It's about securing a brighter future for the Fisher family and ensuring that their 3 boys have the opportunities they deserve. Austin Fisher selflessly served in our military, protecting each one of us in this room and beyond. It's only fair that we afford them the same opportunity Austin fought to preserve for us. As a resident of Amherst County, as a taxpayer, and as a voter, I have a stake in this decision. I stand here tonight not just as a supporter of the Fishers, but as someone who believes in the fundamental principles upon which our county and country were founded: compassion, fairness, and the willingness to give our neighbors a chance. Just as we began this meeting with a prayer and a pledge to our flag, a symbol of the freedoms Austin fought to defend, let us remember Proverbs 19:11. God's people are to offer second chance opportunities because they have each been given the ultimate second chance in Christ. Tonight, let's stand together in support of the Fishers, 2 respected members of our community who embody the spirit of perseverance and determination. They deserve this chance, and it's up to you all to give it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of?
My name is Sharon Mays. This is my daughter, Hannah Mays. Hannah is directly Alexis's neighbor. We have been there when she's had some events. We don't have any problem with her having anything there. We've been on Hannah's front porch the whole time that these events have been going on. They have been quiet. The lighting has been dimmed. We just wanted to let you know that we're in support of the Fishers and that it's a beautiful area and they've worked so hard. And I think that other people should have the chance to enjoy Elon as well as we do. You want to say anything? Okay.
Thank you both. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of?
Hello, my name is Danielle Cash. I live directly next to Alexis Fisher and her family. I have the unique situation of living in both properties. Before Hannah bought it from my husband and I also experienced events in the rancher where I could see the greenhouse. The music was minimal. I have 2 small boys, and I put them to bed at 9 o'clock, and it did not in any way hinder their ability to go to sleep. The only thing that we did have is cars did not go down Kimberly. They went down my driveway several times, but Alexis immediately would text or call me. I thought it was very comedic. She offered to buy gravel for my driveway. She offered to put a sign up. I mean, I can't tell you how gracious she's been when she didn't need to be. Now I live directly next to her at 181, and same thing. We just adore them, and I think that they should be given the opportunity to take care of their family. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of?
Forest Vest, District 3. As a proud resident of Amherst County, I stand here tonight to express my unwavering support for the Fishers and their business endeavors. Having known the Fishers personally, I can testify their integrity, their dedication to their family, their commitment to being responsible members of the community. They are not just seeking an opportunity for themselves, they are striving to create a better future for their children and contribute positively to our county. I believe that granting them this chance is not only fair, but also in the best interest for our community. By adhering to their self-imposed conditions, they have demonstrated their willingness to address concerns and to operate their business responsibly. As elected officials, you have the power to give them this opportunity, just as you have the authority to revoke it if necessary. However, I urge you to consider the potential benefits of supporting local businesses and fostering economic growth in our county. In conclusion, I implore to give the Fishers the chance to prove themselves as stand-up citizens and value members of our community. And I'd like to finish off that my father was a business owner in this county for 25 years. My brother is a business owner still to this day. My brother-in-law, and straight across their property right there. Everybody knows who purchased that. They can do whatever they want, and this county gets zero off of it. So if they do not get this, man fought for air freedom. It's a slap in his face. He has busted his tail. My wife and I grew up in this county, work in this county, built 2 houses in this county. When I needed help, Austin Fisher was there, Johnny on the spot, helped us build our house. So please give them a chance. Thank you all.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of? One more time. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of? All right, we're now going to switch to anyone wishing to speak opposed to.
I have an updated handout for you guys that we previously emailed. It has additional
Give it to him, please,
opponents. Thank you.
and give us your name.
My name is Whitney Gregory. I'm at 306 Phyllis Lee. We support the applicant's current successful businesses that feed their family in construction and excavation and makeup artistry. We also appreciate Austin's service in the military. Our son also serves in the military. However, building and operating a party venue in our subdivision on 5 acres and accessory structures has been an incompatible use since it began, without neighborhood inquiry or county permit. These choices are now being forced on the neighborhood and the county. My father built the house I live in with my family back in 1976. That's how special it is. It's our generational home. And there are others here today that are also living in a generational home or built beside their parents. We walk our dogs, teach our kids how to ride bikes, and we throw football on our street for pickup games because that's how little traffic there is. We're not against small business or hard work. We'd love to help the applicant find a parcel where their dream to run a venue would make sense. But operating 10 party events here since December of 2022 has created excessive traffic, noise, and repeated U-turns at the end of the street where we are and in our driveway. We've seen it happen, so I don't want you to think it's anecdotal, like we've watched cars turn around in our driveway, do U-turns, and then turn down Kimberly and come back down Phyllis Lee again. So it's not anecdotal. 14 properties, 24 adults with over 630 years of combined residency oppose this application. There are no conditions that you could put on a party venue that might sway us toward an approval. We simply do not want a party venue in our neighborhood. The topography of the Tobacco Row Mountain foothills at the back of our neighborhood creates an amphitheater-like backdrop for sharing the sounds of our neighbors toward the front of it. We hear it all, and it's much different than a neighbor simply throwing their own personal, occasional milestone party. Those are very rare and not for profit. This permit application directly contradicts the comprehensive plan's goal 2 regarding the protection of the county's natural beauty and rural character. Approval would create noise pollution, light pollution, and increased traffic, not at all in line with the rural setting where we have all enjoyed and chosen our homes for decades. Goal 4 is also negatively impacted, which is meant to protect our county's scenic view sheds. Our breathtaking view of the Tobacco Row Mountain will be negatively impacted by recurring light pollution from nighttime parties and distort our daytime view during the day with repeated displays of porta potties in the midst of our scenic corridor. You received letters from folks who live beside the micro-wedding venue in Forest. They have lost their home sweet home, and they come home to a place where they have no relaxation, no relief. And please keep that in mind, that This is a forever decision for our neighborhood. It may be a party venue that is desired right now, but it's forever for our neighborhood. When the Fishers grow out of their home and they have to move, we have to deal with it. We have to deal with it.
Time's up.
Thank you for your service.
Anyone else wishing to speak opposed?
Good evening. My name is Joanna Panzarino. My sister, Mary Weiss, and I reside at 222 Kimberly Road. Our parents bought this parcel of farmland in 1956 and built the home in which we now reside. I personally grew up there, moved away in 1972, returned in 1986, and have been there ever since. To say I am protective of this property and its surroundings is an understatement. My parents somehow instilled in me the love of the beauty of this property and the need to protect and care for what we have, which I have tried to do to the best of my ability. I'm not opposed to anyone starting a small business to help offset their cost of living. What I'm not in favor of is the noise factor that I fear will occur if the Fishers are granted permission to proceed with an event venue. An occasional gathering is one thing, but the possibility of a gathering occurring day after day and/or every weekend, I feel would disrupt the surrounding neighbors. I enjoy listening to the birds chirping and/or off in the distance the church bells chime. I am an outdoors person, and the time of these events will probably be when I'm trying to unwind from having worked outside a good part of the day. I can tell you that noise does carry as I hear children playing, dogs barking, someone target practicing, or mowing their grass, but these are not constant sounds, not like that would be associated with large gatherings. I do have concerns about the additional traffic that would happen should this event be approved. One of my greatest concerns regarding traffic is the additional traffic that Kimberly Road will encounter. Kimberly Road is not maintained by the state, but by the residents who live along Kimberly. We try to man some of those coming and going, but it's difficult. We have already seen the FedEx, UPS, fuel delivery trucks, etc., cut through Cedar Gate to Phyllis Lee, and we've been told it's because that's how Google routed them. As for a photography business, I absolutely have no issues with that at all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak opposed?
Good evening. My name is Tammy Carwall Vasquez. I reside at 125 Phyllis Lee Drive with my husband, Jim. Our neighborhood holds a lifetime of memories for me. It's where I grew up. It's where I learned to ride a bike. It's where I said goodbye to my dad, Thomas, in 1993. And it's where we raised our 2 boys. This community is not just a place I call home. It is the very essence of who I am. I'm here to voice my opposition to the special exception request to establish a wedding and photography venue on a 5-acre lot in our neighborhood. Amherst County values the beauty of our natural environment, a safe and secure community, and neighborly atmosphere. An event venue for weddings and other parties would disrupt the peace and quiet of our neighborhood, negatively impacting the overall health and vibrancy of our community. Increased traffic and noise from the event venue would mar the natural beauty and serenity of our area. The influx of visitors raises safety concerns and disrupts our secure environment. This proposal has already caused discord among neighbors, counteracting the neighborly atmosphere we strive to maintain. Our county's vision is to be the community of choice for people to live, work, play, and learn, known for its safety, neighborly atmosphere, connectedness, and passion for natural beauty. Allowing a commercial event venue in a residential area would undermine this vision. While promoting business is important, it should not come at the cost of residential peace and quality of life. Our neighborhood is intended for residential growth, not commercial ventures like an event venue. Business growth should be directed to more appropriate zones, and tourism should be encouraged in areas equipped to handle its impact, not quiet residential neighborhoods. The rural and peaceful nature of the A1 district is an asset that needs protection. We have seen significant opposition from residents demonstrating active citizen engagement. We respectfully urge the board to consider our concerns and respect the collective voice of the community. The proposed event venue is inconsistent with the broader objectives and principles guiding the county's governance. Maintaining the integrity of the A1 zoning regulations is crucial for preserving our community's quality of life. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak opposed?
Good evening. My name is Monica Dalton. I live on 164 Kimberly Road. Sorry. I would like to tell you a quick story. James, Jacob, and I, my husband and my son, moved from a neighborhood where I could wave at my neighbor from my bathroom window while she, my sweet neighbor, was doing her dishes. But that was okay then because we moved into a neighborhood where houses were close. We knew what to expect. I have never met the folks that have brought and would like to bring more regular changes to my life. They have never introduced themselves to me or explained their intentions. Back to my story. As life would have it, my husband and I bought 11 acres on Kimberly Road with a shared pump house and a private road that we pay to help maintain. We knew what to expect, or we thought we did. We moved to 11 acres for peace and quiet that 11 acres should provide us. No matter what is spoken or presumed by those that do not live at 164 Kimberly Road, my home, my sanctuary. The music is loud, and it does not stop at an appropriate time. And since I had never met my neighbors proposing their business, we had no idea where and why we were being bombarded with toxic noise on the weekend. GPS always sends drivers through Kimberly instead of Phyllis Lee for some reason. Also, 70 to 100 cars or 100 people, possibly every weekend, will deteriorate my family's quality of life. 164 Kimberly Road will no longer be the home that we expected to have. Please see beyond the emotional rhetoric used by the Fishers supporters that targets the salt of the earth people that live in our county. I wish I had met and knew the people that call themselves my neighbors and want to change my standard of living that many people seem to believe are good and caring. I wouldn't know because we have never met. Thank you for your time.
Anyone wishing to speak opposed?
Good evening, board. My name is Joseph Lettingham. I live at 225 Kimberly Road, which is this establishment here. All right. That's where I live at. Anyways, I consider myself a good neighbor, and I haven't had any complaints or issues with the Fishers personally. I support small businesses and can understand how a photography venue would bring income to a growing family. A wedding venue, in my opinion, is probably pushing the boundaries of the 5 acres of this residential property. As far as noise concerns, the wooded area here that is a sound barrier is, I don't know if y'all can see it too well, but the majority of it is dead wood. It's in a valley as well. There are clearings and breaks in the brush where I can see straight through from my property to the Cash's property. I can hear vehicles traveling up and down Phyllis Lee Road. I can hear Austin getting his truck. Or run equipment. It's a diesel pickup. It's not terribly loud. I've been around equipment before. It operates like normal. It's not straight piped or anything like that. I can hear leaf blowers and lawn equipment whenever they're working. And I can hear machines if they're operating as well. Just normal stuff. whenever the Fishers kids are outside, I can hear them playing and screaming, having a great time like young kids will do. I can hear Alexis call for their golden retriever, Zoe. She's gotten out a couple of times, and I've gone back to happily return her, just like a good neighbor. I'm not sure who has a rooster on Phyllis Lee Drive, but I can hear it whenever it calls outside. I'm not exaggerating these claims. I don't have any reason to. I'm just bringing up what daily life around this area is like. It's agricultural and, it's agricultural and residential noise. If a wedding venue was added to the area, the noise would continue even to the evening, and not music, just people talking and celebrating marriage. I do have a little bit of concern for the spring house, the pump house area, which is next to my cursor here, in this little area. I maintain it as well as Miss Joanna Panzarino, of which you heard from previously. And I will be maintaining it for the 5 out of 7 families here in the future. I am the legacy, not quote unquote, but I will be maintaining stuff at Kimberly as long as I'm around. Yes, ma'am.
No, it's 30, you got 30 seconds.
Okay. Concerning the spring that feeds the 5 of 7 families on Kimberly Road, the Fresh Hours, Clarksons, Daltons, and Panzarino, and myself, the Lettingham, there is a concern for the accelerated wear of the erosion of the soil from events that consist of up to 100 people. If something were to happen, that's 11 individuals that cannot drink, bathe, or have access to water in whatever period of time it's down. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak opposed? Are y'all as a group, or is it just the little ones?
Go over with the little one, how about that? Hi.
Is that, you spoke one time, are you speaking again?
No. Yes.
Oh, I'm
I spoke
sorry.
with the other one. Okay? Okay. I'm John Lettingham. I live up there. Let's make things clear at first. Alexis has been advertising her venue. It's a party venue, period. It's a party venue. I hear it when they've had parties over there. I've heard the music. I've heard the people talking. It's like an amphitheater. That's been brought up before. I mean, they're down in a hollow, and everybody else is up on the top ridges. She charges $2,250 for 6. Hello, I didn't do
Just
that.
disregard that. User error, go ahead.
Okay, I thought the microwave went off. Anyway, she charges $2,250 for 6 hours. That works out just for 4 days a month, about $10,000 a month, about $120,000 a year. This is all about the money. They haven't talked to any of the neighbors up there. They haven't even introduced themselves to us. We just hear them. They don't care. They want to do what she wants to do. The ideas that she's proposed was having bed and breakfast, or leaving, building this up and then selling out, leaving us stuck with this venue for many years. She's pretty adept at manipulating computers and even the media a little bit and all, making requests to have this put out a little bit. She was turned down by the Planning Commission twice, and I think they had really good reasons for doing so. If y'all allow something like this to go on, there will be other people like the lady from Bedford, but they'll be in Amherst County. They want to put put venues like this in subdivisions throughout Amherst, and you could end up having just a whole bunch of micro venues like that to create problems within subdivisions. If this was something that was happening on Camden Drive in Lynchburg, Camden Drive in Lynchburg, Camden Drive in Elon, everybody on Camden Drive would be up against it. Simple as that. I thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak opposed?
My name's Stuart Gregory. I live on Phyllis Lee Drive as well. As my wife said, her parents built the house in the 70s, and we've had a continuous family presence on the road for 50 years. And one day, in 2000 when we were married, we one day hoped to come back to this and make it our home. During my 20 plus years of government service, I've moved my family 8 times. to provide the best I could for them. In 2017, we had the opportunity to move back to Phyllis Lee, and we did, so that my family could plant roots in this community and grow up. Throughout the moves, in 20 years, I spent a lot of time overseas. I continue to deploy in my current role at least 2 months a year. I commute to DC twice a week. I do all this so that my family can have the quiet country life that we all have had on Phyllis Lee Drive. As John said, the Planning Commission conducted 2 public hearings and voted twice to recommend denial. This is a clear message that the commissioners reviewed all details and agreed a special party venue did not fit in our neighborhood. During the Planning Commission, Mr. Four said, "I've been to weddings and parties. They are loud and create traffic." Ms. Gamble said, "The neighbors don't support it." And Mr. Thompson said, "While it's a classy venue, it doesn't fit in the neighborhood." As my wife said, 14 properties oppose and 3 support. 82% of the community on Phyllis Lee and Kimberly oppose. Opposing neighbors pay to live here, not to make money from events on our property. We don't want loud noise associated with events, regardless of speaker systems, and it can be up to 7 days a week. On this topic, many have mentioned we could have a party at our house and have many more guests and many more loud music, but we don't. We choose not to. And we wouldn't certainly do it 7 days a week. It would be for a celebration and not for profit. Residents and property owners' opinions carry a heavier weight than non-resident and property owners who are simply friends, colleagues, and patrons of the applicant. What kind of precedent would this set if any residential property in Amherst County could become a special event party venue despite overwhelming opposition from the neighbors? Neighbors have experienced weddings and party events at the proposed location with no license or permit, and there's no need to give it a chance or a try. We don't want it here. We know what it's like. Opposing parties do not want to have to police the party venue and then file complaints to bring it back to the board to have the special permit revoked. It should not be our responsibility.
Seconds.
In closing, as you vote, consider voting. Please think about this. If this was a venue that would open across the street from your house, how would you feel? Keep that in mind, please, when you vote tonight. Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak opposed?
Thank you. My name is Jim Vasquez. I live on Phyllis Lee. Members of the board, I do oppose any zoning exception that would allow a party venue business to operate in our quiet neighborhood. I've lived at Phyllis Lee since 2001. Many of us have chosen to build our houses, our homes, raise our families, going about our daily lives, going for walks in a quiet area where we feel safe. We mow our lawns, we get our mail, we put out our trash bins and bring them in. We just generally enjoy the tranquility of rural life here. This is a quiet area. When the power goes out, if you get outside quickly, you'll hear how quiet it is. At night, we hear trains and planes and even coyotes from miles away. We hear and enjoy the sounds of the Monacan powwow. During the day, we hear church bells, birds, a host of neighborhood sounds. Any exception that you approve should be in harmony with these sounds. Phyllis Lee is a road that we walk on. When a car approaches, we form a single file so everyone has plenty of room to get by. Vehicles tend to slow down, and we wave at each other in that way that Southerners do. Plenty of us cut grass on both sides of Phyllis Lee so that everyone can enjoy the easement as a place to walk. Any exception to the zoning should be in harmony with these characteristics. Our view shed, we see fields, hay bales, tractors, cars, trucks, families are outside and enjoying the rural life. The beautiful vistas that are Amherst County, there are birds, rabbits, deer to look at. The neighbors make it a point to keep their property looking presentable. Curb appeal, if you like. Any exception to zoning should be in harmony with these views. A wedding venue on a dozen or more acres would be a benefit to the community. This greenhouse, the pavilion, the celebrations, the staff, the traffic, the porta potties and parking, everything that goes with such a business venue would be best placed at a location, again, with significant acreage. This is our neighborhood. This is where we live. This is where we live our lives. This is where we pursue our happiness. This is not a suitable location for this type of business venture. And this is a high-packed high-impact venture. Phyllis Lee is not Cedar Gate. Cars have to slow down to pass each other. Our serene environment and
30
property
seconds.
values would fare poorly with this business in our neighborhood. A 100 guest limit would not include the staff needed to park cars, take pictures, bring in food, etc. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hello, I'm Nicholas Vasquez, and I also live on Phyllis Lee Drive. I'm also opposed to this special exemption, and I have a letter from my uncle that he cannot be here today, so I have a letter from him that I will be reading. Dear members of the Amherst County Board of Supervisors, I'm writing to express my strong opposition to the proposed development of a wedding party venue in our neighborhood. This proposal raises significant concerns about noise, traffic, safety, environmental impact, and the overall disruption of the quiet enjoyment that my family, neighbors, and I currently experience. As a landowner in the immediate vicinity, planning to build my retirement home, I believe this venue would fundamentally alter the characteristic of our community. My mother, Julia Carwell, who has resided in her home since 1971, and my sister, Tammy Carwell Vasquez, and her husband, Jim Vasquez, who have lived next door since 2003, would also be directly affected by the increased noise and traffic. Our neighborhood is characterized by its tranquility and safe environment it provides for walking, running, dog walking, and bicycling, activities that will undoubtedly be compromised by the proposed venue. The introduction of a venue capable of hosting 100 guests will inevitably lead to substantial noise pollution and traffic congestion. The resulting disturbance from music, celebrations, and increased vehicle activity will significantly degrade the quality of life for residents. Traffic safety is another major concern, as our roads are not designed to handle such high volume of vehicles. Increased traffic heightens the risk of accidents, particularly for pedestrians and cyclists who frequently use these roads. The potential for watershed problems cannot be ignored. Large gatherings often result in increased litter and waste, which can lead to contamination of our local water sources. Maintaining the pristine condition of our environment is crucial, and introducing such a venue threatens to disrupt the delicate balance of our ecosystem. The Amherst County website eloquently describes our community as one defined by its rural countryside, rich traditions, and quality of life reminiscent of days gone by. It emphasizes our preserved, pristine landscape, fertile farmland, and picturesque views that draw people to our area for a peaceful lifestyle. Allowing for the development of a wedding party venue stands in direct contradiction to these values and threatens to undermine the very essence of what makes Amherst County unique. In conclusion, I urge the board to consider the substantial negative impact this venue would have on our community. The proposed wedding party venue is incompatible with the character and values of Amherst County, and its approval would set
30
a concerning
seconds.
precedent for future developments. I respectfully request that you deny this permit for this project to preserve the peace, safety, and integrity of our beloved neighborhood. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I also have extra copies for
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Greg Freshour, I'm at 224 Kimberly Road. Thank you for your consideration of the citizens who live in these neighborhoods as we request denial of the special exception request for a party and wedding venue. Considerable weight should be given to the neighbors who actually live in these neighborhoods and will be affected by disruptive consequences to the quiet and peaceful neighborhoods we have come to love for decades. The special exception request was presented in February and April this year, and the Planning Commission denied it on both occasions. My wife and I have lived on Kimberly Road for 26 years, and my wife's parents, Earl and Barbara Clarkson, have lived on Kimberly Road for 55 years. We moved here for privacy, views of Tobacco Road Mountain, and the peaceful and quiet neighborhood it provides. Over the past year and a half, there have been numerous events on the Fishers property, and we know when they are taking place because we can hear them. Sound travels through these neighborhoods, and you can actually hear actual conversations and words to the music. This has happened with several events, and the thought of having these with regularity on continuous weekends and some weekdays would totally disrupt the characteristics and everything we have come to love in these neighborhoods. The residents of Kimberly Road pay annual maintenance fees, and our most recent bill to resurface was over $20,000. Since the Fishers started their business, we have seen a regular increase in traffic on our private road. Directions for guests haven't stopped vehicles from cutting through the private road, and it's possible they may have been lost or just curious. This creates excessive traffic, wear and tear, and strangers cutting through our private road. I'm not against wedding venues, as both our daughters were married at wedding venues. The difference is one was on a 16-acre lot and the other was on over 100 acres. Wedding venues were made for large parcels where neighbors would not be disturbed, not on a small 5-acre plot surrounded by several homes. Our denial petition had 25 signatures, 14 of 17 properties, or 82% of the neighbors, that do not want this party and wedding venue in our neighborhoods. In closing, based on the requirement item F on the special exception permit, it states, will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, or conditions that will be detrimental to any person's property or the general welfare by reason of excessive traffic, noise, etc. Based on what we've already experienced, this violates that standard and is not compliant. For all these reasons and item F, please uphold this requirement and deny this party and wedding venue special exception request. Thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else wishing to speak opposed? Seeing and hearing none, we're now going to close this public hearing. Turn it over to the board for discussion.
Question for Mr. Creasy.
Mr. Creasy, come to the podium, please.
All right, so Mr. Creasy, the Fishers started having events 2 years ago, 1 year ago?
Year and a half, 2 years ago, I believe. Yes, sir.
Year and a half ago. How many complaints did you get?
Regarding, so we received one complaint after the first special exception that the business was still being advertised and staff.
How did you find out that they were
She came to our office looking to get a business license.
She came to you?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so, you all right if I keep on?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
your district. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely.
So, no complaints up until they filed for
Correct.
special exception permit?
Yes, sir.
So I requested calls for service for the past 2 years, right? There
Correct.
was 3, okay? One, I believe, was there were some individuals that the police were looking for, and, now I didn't do every house, I just did this. I believe Ms. Fisher had gone away and left her doors unlocked, and she was afraid to go back to the house because they were looking for these individuals. So that was one. Number 2, I believe, was somebody was shooting into the woods. I don't know if that was the Fishers or somebody else, whatever. It sounded like it was Target. And the third was a noise complaint, right? I believe the noise complaint was about 9 p.m., and if you look at the report, what it says is marked in the area, is what the deputy said. Doesn't say that they got out. My understanding is that you guys took care of it. Is that correct? So you had gotten no complaints up until the signs went up? Okay.
Regarding zoning violations, yes, sir.
Okay. I have tried, I've just looked at Google Maps, I have gone from different locations, I have tried to get GPS to put me on Kimberly Drive. It does not do it, okay? So I'm not sure where your traffic, where you're getting it puts you on Kimberly Drive. It does not put you on Kimberly Drive, it puts you on Phyllis Lee, okay? So as far as traffic going on Kimberly, I do not see that as a major consideration. Okay. The noise, you know, one gentleman talked about, let me see, he said, harmony with these, we hear planes, trains, and a Monacan powwow. Right, how far is a Monacan powwow from there? That's
Quite a ways.
quite a ways, okay. So that must be pretty loud. My understanding is that the petitioner has stated that they're not going to use the PA systems, right? They're going to use a Bluetooth speaker. I believe the petitioner said there was a certain decibel level to that. So we don't have any decibel levels in our ordinance.
No, sir, not regarding noise. It's subjective, the way the ordinance is written, in my opinion. To the officer or whoever responds to the complaint.
And it's 11 PM.
Yes, sir.
And this is proposing to cut off by 10.
Yes, sir.
Just a little Bluetooth speaker that we don't really know what the decibels are. Okay. So, you know, I think part of the traffic issue on Phyllis Lee may be the lack of signage. You know, they possibly, are they permitted a business sign?
You are allowed to have exempt signs that are 2 square feet or 1 by 1. They are exempt signs, so you can place those within VDOT's right-of-way so long as they have the proper
Talking about
permission.
for the business on her property. How big can that sign be?
On her property. I would need to look for that, but regarding road signs, I know they are exempt. Off the top of my head, I do not have that regulation for on their
But
property.
the sign she showed us, is that, so you don't know if that meets the sign ordinance?
Correct, not off the top of my head, no, sir.
Goodness sake, please check and make sure that meets the sign ordinance. I think part of the problem might be that the sign's not up. I followed GPS, I left Lynchburg, I stopped right there. There was no sign. I went down, visited the property. I will say that I think they've put a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort into this property, right? Thank you for your investment. I think you've got a very good design eye. You know, as far as vehicles going on Phyllis Lee, I think if there's turning around up at past it is because there's a lack of signage. I don't believe 100 guests, and that's probably going to be not the norm. It sounds like the majority of the events are much smaller than that. I live in Clifford. You know, Clifford Rotary Club is right up the road across the street. I hear the events. You know, obviously we built after it was there, but they're there and they have events whenever they want to have events. I go to Clifford Baptist Church, right? And I suffer the consequences of living on the road where the church is. Sunday morning, it is hard to get in or out. But we're not talking about 50 to 100 people. We're talking about 800 people, right? So, you know, I think this young couple came into the county. I don't believe they're originally from Amherst. They bought a piece of property. They've put a lot of investment in it. I hear the neighbors' concerns. Yet I'm not, you know, the major concerns are traffic and noise. You know, as far as the traffic on Kimberly, I don't see the logic in it because I don't see the traffic going there. Okay, I don't. You know, as far as the noise with the little Bluetooth speaker, you know, I believe we really don't have a way to measure that anyway. You know, she could tell us it's 50 decibels. I don't know. You don't have a noise meter, all right? So I think any music being cut off at 10 p.m. I think is adequate. So I'm leaning towards supporting this for that reason. I appreciate young people coming to the county, starting these small businesses. I can tell you when my oldest daughter got married, we couldn't find a smaller venue that we could afford. We ended up renting Winton at the time. It was a lot more than $2,500, I can tell you that, and we had to rent the tent, so it was a lot. I think it's a need. I think the adjacent landowners are not in opposition to it. So I'm going to tend to support it. Mr. Adams, I know this is your district, but that's just my thoughts on it.
I can follow with my comments at the end if either one of you two have anything you'd like to comment on.
Yes, Mr. Martin, I understand where you're coming from. You make some valid points, but to take into consideration of all the individuals and people that live around there, they've put their life effort into paying their mortgages. buying their properties, maintaining them, and to have upwards of 100 people on a 5-acre tract, regardless if you have a Bluetooth speaker or not, that amount of people is going to carry throughout the whole area. And you're in a residential rural area, I just don't think it's the right spot for a wedding venue. Phyllis Lee is a small road. It has no center line in it. It's very narrow. I don't think it's harmonious with the neighborhood. I think it's going to be a detriment to everyone that lives around it, including their way of life, their peace, and what have you. I think we've had a bunch of good speakers here tonight that have made the case even better than I can because they've had to deal with it. No doubt that the Fishers have put a lot of hard work and effort into what they've done, but at the same time, you've got to take into consideration the amount of years some of these people have lived on these properties and built their life and their family. And I don't think this is the place for it. It's not in harmony with the rest of the neighborhood. The outpouring of the citizens here tonight, I think, is what struck a chord with me. And there is noise and traffic potential, regardless if they go on Kimberly or not. It's easy to miss the place. They can go on Kimberly, turn around, use it to come back out on Cedargate. I just don't think this is a fitting location. Now, I know in the past, Stonehurst, they call it now, the Dillard Plantation, that was a location that had just been used as a wedding venue, and it's a perfect location. There's no houses in close proximity, and it's right on Route 130. I do not support this request.
And I'm going to go ahead and speak because I'm going to leave the closing comments to the gentleman who is a supervisor for that district. So I spoke to a number of you all, either by text or by phone. And I got to tell you, in the beginning of this, I was leaning to support the planning commission. I was leaning opposed to this. And last weekend, my husband, who's a former planning commissioner, was on the planning commission for 15 years. We rode out there, rode all around it, tried the same thing as my colleague said, tried to find a way for GPS to direct us, up the other road, and that didn't happen. But aside from that, as I said, I always support the planning commission, so I'm finding it very hard not to do that this time. But I also support small business. And with all the exceptions that have been put in here, the exceptions have been put into this, especially the one that says that if there are complaints and if the person who owns this does not adhere to the requirements that we have put in here, we can jerk your special exception away from you. That's a pretty good incentive to do what you're telling us you're going to do. So I'm leaning towards supporting what you're doing. I'll turn it now over to my colleague from that district.
Well, thank you, fellow board members, for your input. I'll have to say that obviously when we leave out here tonight, there's going to be some folks that are going to be pleased and some people that are going to be displeased. And hopefully when we leave out of here, we can all still continue to agree to disagree. Because I think some of you, as you spoke, either in favor of or in opposition to, a lot of people brought that up in their discussions and living in some sort of harmonious community. I live in the country. I live in Pleasant View, and I am blessed to live where I do. And as many of you have brought up your points tonight, I've actually put myself in those positions to evaluate if I had a situation such as this that come up around me, what would be my position on that? And I will tell you that I have not taken this public hearing or this zoning request lightly at all. And out of my two bouts on the board of supervisors, I'd probably say this one ranks on up there in the top 5 by all means. So I've done my due diligence. I went out and visited the property. I'm very familiar with the area. When I was on the board the last time, and Mr. Bryant and I talked about it, I think it was somewhere around 2009, we approved a wedding venue at the corner of Wind Ridge and Winesap Road. To this day, and I think after speaking to Mr. Bryant and doing some homework, I think that piece of property has changed hands upwards of 4 times at this point. Is that about correct, Mr. Bryant? To this point, we've had no complaints from that. So I'm not gonna draw this thing out because I can get long-winded, as everybody knows sometimes. But I'm definitely empathetic with the concerns of the opposition. I'm also in somewhat of awe of what has been done for that piece of property, because I think any of us could play devil's advocate and say, you know, we could have a neighbor that come in, which I have been I've been subject to in my part of the country a time or two, that were not good neighbors, that did not keep their property up like I keep mine up, where this is not the case with the Fishers. They have spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money, and it seems like they put a lot of pride in what they have. So, with that being said, I could go on, but I don't see any need at this point in time. Being it is my district, I'm going to make the recommendation to approve the special exception 2024-154 for the micro wedding venue, and that's it.
Motion.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, one other thing. As we're reviewing this thing, the only thing I would like to ask, and I'm not sure from Mr. Creasy or from Mr. Popovich, if any, as far as the condition that's offered in here. Condition number 9 in my proposal for approval of this, I would ask that we strike number 9 from the condition.
I agree.
Well, would you entertain to lower the number from 100? I mean, I think 100 guests on that property is
Number 9
substantial.
Number 9 has nothing to
doesn't
do
have
with
anything
the
to do
number
with
of people.
guests.
No, number
I'm
9
not
has
talking
nothing to do-
about
yes.
that. I'm talking about bringing it up as an amendment.
Let's deal with the amendment that's on the floor first. What was your-
I believe the motion is, if I
Well,
could,
then, go
is
ahead.
to approve it without condition number 9. Is that correct?
That was my motion.
Right. So, and I believe that I can respect the fact that the Fishers recommended these conditions, but the conditions are set by the board in approving it. So we can accept them, we can reject them, or we can add others. Okay?
Right.
So, right now, I believe your motion is to adopt it as is without condition number 9.
Strike number 9.
Right, which is the condition that they mail out notifications every 30 days in advance of any special event to all property owners. I honestly think that's very cumbersome and probably will cause more problems than it solves. So I fully support your motion on that.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Adams.
I was going to see if we could get another amendment. I would like to lower the amount of people that could attend it at one time. I think 100 people in the subdivision in that area is too large of a number on a weekly basis, possibly. And if there's no agreement on that, then that's fine. But I think by not listening to the people that actually live in the area and their concerns, that we're doing a disservice to the community.
I'm going to call upon the county attorney, Robert's Rules of Orders. We had a motion on the floor. What's proper protocol?
Proper protocol for this discussion is that there would be consideration of the motion that's on the floor. If there is no indication that there is a willingness to amend at this point, because it was discussed as a friendly amendment rather than its own separate amended motion, the motion on the floor still controls.
Mr. Adams, are you willing to accept an amendment?
So, all right, this could end up being a cumbersome process just in itself, but, so can we have open dialogue about this now that the motion's on the floor?
Yes.
Okay, so with that being said, what would be your recommendation if I chose to, and I'm not saying that with arrogance, please don't take it that way, but
No,
if we
I would
decided
like-
to discuss it,
So I'd like to see the lower, at least to 75.
okay? So now, Madam Chair and Mr. Popovich, is it appropriate that we ask the applicant how they would feel about that proposal?
Well, these conditions are your conditions.
No.
I understand that.
So this is not necessarily a discussion with the applicant. These are the conditions
Okay.
that you would set.
Well, I can tell you, I'm not gonna be in favor of reducing the number of people.
So, Madam Chair, if I may,
Right.
if Supervisor Adams accepts that as a friendly amendment, okay, when we vote, are we voting on the amendment and then it goes back to the original motion?
No, if he accepts it as a friendly amendment, then the original motion is amended to say approve as presented minus number 9 and a reduction in the number to 75.
But if it fails, the petition is denied.
Correct.
So I don't support the amendment.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I move forward with my original motion.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Adams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
A nay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said aye. Excuse, there'll be no public display of emotion, excuse me.
No, I voted nay.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, let the record show that the vote is 3-1. I'm sorry, David.
Oh, no, that's good.
Okay, moving on. We'll now go to the consent agenda. Congratulations. All right, the consent agenda, board members, any changes? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Yeah.
Motion on the floor to approve consent agenda by Mr. Martin. All in favor, say aye.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
sorry.
I've gotten kind of distracted with, I wanted a topic of discussion on the consent agenda, one of the items on the consent agenda, as an informational component for the rest of you board members.
Okay,
So can we back up?
well, we've got a motion on the floor.
Well, we've already voted on it, but I
Yeah.
believe if the
Well, why don't you just
majority-
add what you want to say,
All right,
Mr. Adams?
so I was going to vote for the consent agenda to approve it, obviously. However, I'm sorry?
I said, I'm sorry, I rushed
Oh, it's okay, it's okay. Item B on the consent agenda for the rest of the board members, I just want to make sure that it has been expressed within the Emergency Services Council. Obviously, this is the first time since I've been back on the board that we've gone through this process for approving the funds for a volunteer department when they come for reimbursement purposes. However, I want to make sure that the four of us that are here are harmonious, since we're using that word a lot tonight, in the views associated with funding. This here, Chief Beam, if you don't mind, this was associated with a air compressor at Manelson Fire Station that is failing. Breathing air compressor. They came to us asking for a set of money. The Emergency Services Council set that pot of money, set the amount that they were going to approve, and they voted on that. However, I have suggested to the leadership staff from the volunteers that going forward, like we do up here, that they need to budget for said items going forward. If it's a catastrophic, unforeseen failure is one thing. This breathing air machine has been in place for 25 to 30 years, I think. So they knew this, and I wanted to urge that going forward that we can plan for such funding requests, because Chief Beam only has a certain pot of money that this is going to be pulled from, and at this point in time, we're going to be pretty much tapped out of that until we get to the new budget year. So I just wanted you guys to have that information as far as what's been relayed, and make sure you guys were okay with that suggestion going forward.
Any other questions?
No, but I would
Okay,
like to
you
say,
said no.
huh?
Go ahead.
Since we already voted, if the record could show, I am the chief of Amherst Fire Department, and this is not related to Amherst Fire Department, so I believe I can whatever it is.
Vote on it.
Vote on it, unbiased.
We don't see any conflict of interest there.
Thank you very much. 'cause
You're
it
quite
doesn't come to
welcome.
our station. Yep.
Thank you.
Here for you, Mr. Martin. All right, so we have gone through the consent agenda, painful as it may be.
Yes, that was
That's done. We'll move on now to special presentation, 2024-1, excuse me, 1, the burn building. And we're going to hand these out, we're going to read one and hand them out. But in sitting here thinking about this, I think it would probably be more appropriate, Mr. Martin, since you're involved in that industry, those folks, and you have been serving here the longest. Nothing against you, Mr. Adams, but if you would like to read them and give it out.
So just read one.
Just read one.
Hold up, I gotta get my glasses.
Do you want-
You print a big one?
Kristen did.
You are the glue that holds it. All righty. A commemorative resolution number 2024-1-CR, a commemorative resolution to thank local organizations for their assistance with constructing the Amherst County Burn Building. Approved as to form by the county administrator. Be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amherst, Virginia, that the board recognizes and thanks the many local organizations and businesses that contributed to the construction of the Amherst County Burn Building. Whereas on March 21st, 2023, the Amherst County Board of Supervisors granted permission for Amherst County Public Safety to use county-owned land on Industrial Park Drive to develop a fire rescue training facility. And whereas Lynchburg Ready Mix Concrete Company, James River Equipment, Foster Electric Company Incorporated, and Hill Hardware Corporation all donated valuable materials to the project. And whereas Amherst County Public Works Department, Amherst County Department of Public Safety, Amherst County Community Development, and Hurt and Profit Incorporated donated their time and expertise. And whereas Grants Hollow Land Management, Drummond Electrical Incorporated, CSE Incorporated, Bayless Trucking Incorporated, and LMT Hauling and Excavating donated both time and materials to this project. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amherst, Virginia, thanks these organizations for their contributions to the fire training facility and toward keeping Amherst County safe, that this resolution shall be enforced and in effect upon adoption. And Madam Chair, I would put that in form of a motion.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Thanks to everyone who made this dream a reality.
So if you are here and your name was called, if you would come forward, we would love to give you this. And while that's happening, Chief Beam, if you could hand those out, that'd be awesome. I will say, Mr. Adams, you and I have been in this a long time. Having this type of facility in Amherst County is nothing short of amazing. I've had the opportunity to train there several times over the past couple months, and it is a top-notch facility. We still have some things to do, but it is a great facility for Amherst County. We just finished our first fire academy that trained in that facility. We had a very good pass ratio, and it's going to serve us very well. So I appreciate my fellow board members supporting that, and I appreciate what each and every one of you have done to make that happen.
Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, only if the whole board gets in it.
Do you want everybody up there in the front?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, how about in the front?
I'm short and I won't be in the picture. Y'all stand up.
Yes.
I'm trying not to get it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. And Kristen, thank you so much.
All right, let's see, what do we do next? All right, next we've got Committee Resolution 2024-2-CR honoring Ms. Brenda Barnett.
Sorry for the wait.
Thank you so much for your patience.
You're welcome. Stay there. Tell them that's the best for last.
That's right.
Yes, that's for last. All right. Who else is coming up? Anybody else coming? All right. Anybody else you wanted up here?
I want my family.
Well, everybody get up here. You sure? All right. Commemorative Resolution number 2024-2-CR, commemorative resolution honoring Brenda Barnett upon her retirement from the Amherst County Public Libraries. Be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amherst, Virginia, that the board recognizes and thanks Brenda Barnett for her many years of service with the Amherst County Public Libraries. Whereas Brenda has served the community through her role as administrative assistant to the Amherst County Library Director for over 48 years. And whereas she served as administrative assistant to 4 different library directors, acting as an invaluable source of institutional memory. Whereas Brenda managed the day-to-day operations of the library when the director was unavailable. And whereas Brenda was appreciated by library staff, county departments, and members of the public for her kind demeanor and supportive nature. And whereas she was given progressively more responsibility and was ultimately responsible for the library's human resources, finances, and bookkeeping. And whereas Brenda did adapt with, who put this word in here? Alacrity. The 48 years of procedure.
So glad I didn't have to read that one.
48 years of procedure, policy, and law changes. And whereas Brenda implemented many new waves of technology and innovation, such as the integration of computers into the library. And whereas she supported the library as it moved buildings, underwent major renovations, and gained an additional branch location. And whereas Brenda was a staff social director, recognizing staff life events, planning parties, and otherwise enriching the morale of the library staff. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amherst, Virginia thanks Brenda Barnett for her many years of service and wishes her well in her retirement. That this resolution shall be in force and effect upon adopted this 21st day of May, 2024, Drew Wade Chair. Thank you so much. Thank your family. We just appreciate you so much. There you go.
Thank you.
Did y'all want to get any more pictures? Are you good? Any more pictures?
Yeah, watch out. Thank you very much. You want to give it a front?
Yeah, let one of us, you want one of us to pull that?
Do you want to make a picture up here?
It's a heck of a pop.
Whatever that word was. Alacrity.
How many years? Was it 40?
How many years was it? 48, wasn't it?
How many years?
Wow, 40.
48 and a half.
Oh,
But I started when I was 5.
Come on, you could have gave us one more, half or more years. I'm kidding. Congratulations.
Now, can I say something?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Come on up here, Gabrielle. Now, I'm probably won't be around in 48 more years. But she probably would be here standing in my place. She's my replacement.
Oh,
okay.
that's great.
Nice to have you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Tucker stepped out for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and take over for a few minutes.
Mr. Martin's gone too, so it's just me and you.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get this started. It's been a long evening. This is regards to the Bank Stabilization Partnership, River Edge Park, the James River Association. I wasn't, okay. Mr. Campbell will come up here and lead the discussion.
You want to
Sure,
take it
yeah,
over?
no,
I got it
absolutely.
ready.
Okay, you got it ready?
Yes,
I
I
almost
think-
want to hear what he has prepared. I feel like it's
Oh,
so
go
good.
ahead. Mr. Creasy, I mean.
No, we gotta let her guess. He's been waiting.
All right,
Fair
all
enough,
right.
Fair enough. Board, good to see you all. Thank you all for having me this evening. Great to see you all as always. Stellar kudos to Miss Barnett. My mother worked with her at the library for many years. What a stellar person. So fantastic. 48 years of service is just impressive. Here tonight to ask about, of course, for the bank stabilization project we have going on at James River Adventures and River's Edge Park. Kind of just picking up where we put the ball down for when our original project where we worked with the county a few years ago to get the access point made. So we're finally getting to the point where we can get that bank stabilized. So we're here tonight to seek that funding. The James River Association, as always, we've had a great partnership with the county for many years where we go in together on these capital projects. And of course, we're just coming off the remodel of the building that was right about $600,000 investment that we put into the park, and it really has paid off. We look forward to hopefully hosting you all there soon to take a peek at that. But again, we're here tonight asking for $20,000, right at $20,000, to meet us halfway for the building and construction of the wall. We are going to, this is not in the paperwork we gave you all, but we are going to pay for the engineering that we had done a few weeks ago. It's only $1,800, but we want to make sure that you all know that we are committed to seeing this done correctly, seeing this done for something that can not only last for a long time, to stand to be a beautiful spot for Amherst County citizens to access the river, but also in terms of the river, be something that's going to hold the bank back properly and make sure that it's a nice area and that we're not putting more sediment and stuff into the James River and creating problems. So,
All right, and exactly, is this where the existing dock is built?
So yes, about where you see that excavator in the picture there is the start of the trail, and it goes down that steep hill and kind of you can see the trail he's highlighting there. It's the one that's alongside the paved trail there that's at the really steep bank that is the cause for concern. It's the company that came in there had made some promises that they were going to stabilize that with much more secure stones. And really, when the job was over, they were woefully inadequate at the end of the day. To be honest, I'm very surprised we haven't lost more tons of sediment out of that spot. It's held together relatively well, considering that there's nothing really there. There are some mats that are there to try and help hold back that erosion. But to be honest, we've gotten pretty lucky that it hasn't gotten any worse than it already has, and really completely filled in our wonderful trail that we've created. One which sees the most action of any part in the park as far as new things that are out there. We see many people going down there, not only for fishing, for enjoying the beautiful view that's down there, but getting out and paddling and using it as its need. And it's actually one of the better places to swim at the park because there's a nice deep spot right out from there, and you're not in the way of the boat ramp or anything of that nature. So, but yes, any more questions that you all have, I'd be happy to answer them.
Madam Chair, I'm going to make some assumptions that it's the county's wall.
Correct.
It's on the county property.
Yes, sir.
County's erosion issue, and you're offering to pay the engineering and split the cost with us.
Yeah, you
Seems
nailed
like
it.
a pretty good deal to me.
I
Perfect.
couldn't say it better myself.
So I would make the motion that the board approve the expenditure of up to $20,000 in equal share with James River Association for the retaining wall improvements, the JRA proposed.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Motion passes, and thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Thank you all
thank
so much for our continued partnership. We
Yeah.
look forward to the future.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right, next we have the reassessment contract.
Good evening, Board. My name is Melissa Woodard. I'm the Procurement and Contracts Division Manager here at Amherst County. I don't know if I've had the opportunity to present in front of all of you guys before, so just in case you don't know my name, you know now. Over the past few months, we've been going through an RFP process to obtain an assessor for the Amherst County real estate reassessment. This contract will begin the process for establishing a new general reassessment to become effective January 1 of 2026. We received 3 proposals during this process. One was from Pearson's Appraisal Service, Vision Governmental Solutions, and Cowan Services. All 3 proposers came in and presented in front of our evaluation committee, and the evaluation committee selected Pearson Appraisal Services to perform our reassessment. The time frame for this process, the contract will commence July 1st of 2024. The first step of the reassessment process will be conducting sales studies, surveys, and construction cost analysis. This will begin as soon as the contract starts and will be completed August 2024. The contractor shall commence work for field analysis and appraisal starting at the end of August 2024, and that will run for a year. Pending the successful completion of the field appraisal process, assessment notices shall be mailed during the month of September 2025. Hearings by the certified assessors shall commence no later than October 1st of 2025 and shall be conducted until completed. The assessment book will be certified in December of 2025, and then this will start in January of 2026. I have Mr. Pearson here. If you guys have any questions about the attached contract or any questions specifically for the firm.
Board members, do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, who did we use last time?
We used a company called Wampler Edens.
Right, so this is not.
Correct.
Okay,
Not them.
very good. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the third reassessment that I'll be going through on this board. And the first one, I forget what it was, anyway, this is the third different organization we've used, but I didn't hear any of those other names in the actual proposals, which strikes me as odd. Are they still in business?
Yeah, I know Wampler Edens, I believe, called Melissa at some point, was touching base, but they did not put a proposal in.
Okay.
I think some of the companies that have been around are aging out of doing that sort of business, and you're seeing new businesses come into the sector.
Any further questions? Is there a motion?
What, I guess, here comes me and the dollar figure guy, but we budgeted what for the reassessment?
We budgeted $600,000.
Okay, and I've skimmed through a lot of this stuff, but I didn't get, where are we at on this one,
Yeah,
Melissa?
so with the total parcels that we have currently, we're looking about $529,231.40. Some of that money will be used in other regards. We have to pay for mailing expenses, and we have to also pay for a Board of Equalization daily amounts
And
at some point.
that will all come out of the $600,000 figure, correct?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Do you expect us to be over budget or just close?
That probably is more of a question for Ms. McBride.
We don't have to do it right now.
We expect to be in budget.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
That's a good county administrator response.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. That's all I need to know.
Now you told him how much we had, well, you know we're gonna be over. My gosh, you never, no, I'm kidding. But
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
So,
Oh.
Well, I didn't- Which one of y'all said something?
Mr. Bryant, Mr. Martin.
All right, motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
And very nice to meet you. All right, next we've got the ATIP planning grant.
Madam Chair, I have been recusing myself from any discussion on this from the city. Because I work for the city of Lynchburg and it's kind of so closely intertwined. If it's okay with the board, I'm going to recuse myself from the discussion on this.
Board members, do you have any problem with him recusing himself? Mr. Pugh?
No, that's fine.
I don't have anything.
I'm familiar with the concept of the footbridge. I know that it had been talked about in the past. I didn't see, maybe I overlooked it, I didn't see, it's a 20% match, but if I was correct, it was like a $1.5 million bridge at one time.
Yes, so, yeah, some great questions, and I'm going to try to give a little presentation. Hopefully, I should answer any concerns that you might have. So the Office of Community Development is looking to pursue an ATIP Planning and Design grant, the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway, for a multi-purpose footbridge from the Sarah Lou Christian Trail to Percival Island. Now, planning and design, when you think about that, you're like, oh, this is construction work. No, what we're looking to do, and is on the budget before you, is looking to determine the feasibility of such a thing. So if you can look at the budget before you, it outlines our grant proposal will be $125,000. Property and topographic surveys, subsurface investigations, evaluation of real required property, evaluation of 2 structure types, floodplain and floodway modeling and permit considerations, renderings, and most importantly, public engagement. This is to determine the feasibility of such a project because we don't even know if it's feasible. There are a lot of things you got to take into account: floodway, flood design, things of that. But with the current master plan going on, the development you can see across the river, and in addition to that, the Central Virginia Training Center is up for purchase and potential redevelopment. And I'd like to go back to that redevelopment plan, and that redevelopment plan for CVTC showed a connection from Sarah Lou Christian's Trail to the James River Heritage Trail. And so what staff would like to do is to apply for this grant. We looked at trying to get 100% match. Unfortunately, our census tracts do not meet the threshold of poverty. Well, that's a good thing. Our census tracts don't meet the threshold of poverty to be 100% match. So we would have to apply for an 80-20% match. However, I would like to caveat, the board would not be entitled to take this grant if we were to be approved. And in addition to that, in applying, you then have to come into negotiations and a formal contract if we were to be awarded it with the federal government by 2026. That allows staff to budget for it if you all, as the board, believes this is a good project. So therefore, what staff is looking for, not at this meeting, because we understand this is not a decision that should be made in one night, in the first night that you receive the information. However, we will be coming back to you June 4th to receive a potential letter of support for that 20% match. Staff is getting everything lined up. We've had meetings with MPO, the city of Lynchburg. We've had those meetings, and we just want to ensure that we can submit a competitive grant if you all believe this is a good option. However, like I said, if not, it's no worries to us. And then even if we were to be awarded the grant, you would not be committed to meet that 20% match. You can just say, we don't want to do it. Before you is the planning and design budget. The grant proposal is $125,000. 80%, 20% match is $100,000 and $25,000. I have Mr. Nixon here. He brought this to his Parks and Recreation Board, in which I'd like for him to just give you a few seconds of the feedback that he received.
Yes, our last meeting in May, I brought this to our board just to let them inform them of what we were trying to do as staff, and they were very much for it. As was discussed, for years there's been a Blue Ways, Greenways committee that was formed back in the early 2000s, which I was on at the time, and that was actually brought up and discussed too. And we've always wanted to try to tie these trails together. And this would be a good way, possibly a good way to do that, especially with a cooperation with the city of Lynchburg and other folks that may be involved to help make it come to fruition. And I think it's a good way to at least look at it and see, is this feasible? Is it something we can do? I think it'll be an economic boom for Amherst County. When you look at what James River Association is doing over there, it'll bring people from Lynchburg. They can walk over, potentially ride a bike over to our side of the county, and hopefully spend money. I know James River's having an event June 1st down there, which we're involved with, and down at River Edge Park. And it will hopefully bring people from the city over to our side. And I think it's just a great opportunity, and I hope you would consider it. And I know our advisory board was very much for it. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else?
That's all that staff has. And like I said, we are not looking for a motion right now. However, if you have questions for us, please ask away. However, as indicated in your item summary, we will be coming back for that letter of support for June 4th to ensure the grant is competitive when submitted.
All right, two things from me. One, I'm gonna speak for Mr. Martin, kind of, sort of. I know how much weight he places with the recreation, the volunteers with the recreation department. And it's very meaningful, impactful to me that they support this. So thank you for getting that done. The second thing is that I remember back in 2002, 3, whenever Amherst County got the iced tea grant from Congressman at the time, Goodlatte, one of the things that was in there was this bridge. And I looked at that drawing for decades now. And I know you remember this, Mr. Adams. And I know personally I would like to see if there's any way that we can make it a reality. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but we don't know unless we look at it. That's all I got to say. Board members?
I guess we'll take a look on June 4th and figure out what we're gonna do. This is just for the planning to actually see if we can receive the grant. I really think that the real discussion would be the cost of it, if we get the grant or what have you. I mean, it's a substantial cost. I know that at one time it was a 1.5 million or maybe more than that, but this was a bridge that was going to go under one of the other ones and travel that way. So to build a standalone bridge across the river would be a lot of money, so to speak. I mean,
Right.
like millions of dollars, and the county would have to come up with.
Right. And so staff's objective here is ATIP offers two types of grants, a planning and design grant and a construction grant. And so if the board sees fit that we move forward with the planning and design and we potentially get awarded and move forward with that, staff believes that shows an excellent showcase in applying for that construction grant as well, which is also an 80-20% match. However, that cost would be a lot more. At that time, though, the county, this is not something that only benefits Amherst. This is something that would benefit the city. And if we were to this is months and years down the road, but if we were to submit a grant for construction, we would ensure that Lynchburg has skin in the game. This would not be a sole Amherst County project. We've talked about that. However, this is to determine the feasibility because we don't even know if it's possible.
Madam Chair, if I may, I think going forward, and obviously we're not making a decision tonight, this is just for discussion, but I think Mr. Creasy kind of made the point that I was trying to get across. I'm not disagreeing with you whatsoever. I'd love to see something like this come to fruition, but this is not going to be a small feat for us to undertake us on the budgetary side of things. And Mr. Nixon, no disrespect, and I understand where you're coming from as far as trying to get people from the city over on our side, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I mean, right now, the economic benefit would probably be more leveraged on the side of the city than it would Amherst County. Because, I mean, we really don't have anything to offer them other than coming to walk the trail. So yeah, we can move forward to the 4th and we can have some discussion, but I mean, going forward, I'm with Mr. Creasy. I would need to see Lynchburg to have a significant skin in the game to be able to move this thing forward.
Yeah, they actually have, they have the ability to come up with money on a level that we can't. I mean, they have a larger population and a larger tax base. So.
All right, like I said, we don't have to make any decisions tonight. I think that we've all kind of laid out our opinions here, and we look forward to hearing what you got next.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you both. All right, Jeremy, Monument Committee update.
Yes, ma'am. As you know, the Monument Committee has been hard at work for you. We have, just to highlight a few of the things that they've done so far, we have taken a field trip to Charlotte County to see what Charlotte County did and how they handled their monument. We have attended presentations at the University of Lynchburg by experts in the field. We have also been in consultation with a professor at the University of Richmond who's a historian. So I can tell you the Monument Committee is hard at work. What they're asking for, you gave them 6 months from November until May. They're asking for an extension. They don't want to take it too far, but they want until August. So they're asking for an extension from May until August to bring a recommendation back to you on what that interpretive sign would say at the monument.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Do y'all have any problem with extending it to August?
Madam Chair? No, I do not. I have heard nothing but good things about the work that that committee is doing. Nothing but good things about the way our county administrator is helping them navigate this. You know, May to August, yes, they're working towards that. I fully support giving them the.
Do you need a motion, or is our intent good enough?
Yes, well, we put a motion in there for you.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, yes, we do.
Oh.
You want to make a motion, Mr. Martin?
I would if I knew what it was.
I make a motion that we allow the committee that's working on the Monument Committee to allow them up to August to complete their task.
Okay. Motion on the floor by Mr. Pugh. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Thank you. All right, County Attorney's report.
I have nothing, ma'am.
All right. Liaison and Committee reports. Emergency Service Council, Mr. Adams.
We are aggressively meeting monthly instead of quarterly until we can get through the evaluation and minute changes associated with the standard operating procedures and guidelines associated with public safety. And that's going very well within the committee. And other than that, Mr. Beam, can you think of anything else we need to report on as far as that's concerned? Okay, that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. On Parks and Rec, Mr. Martin.
Sure. That board and the Parks and Rec staff continue to work very hard. Great things coming out of Parks and Rec. Participation in the activities has increased, continues to increase. When is the Central Park grand opening? Has that occurred?
Well, we're shooting for June, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. We've
Okay.
got some delays.
So, but that's coming along.
Another month.
Yeah, but they continue to do great things, so.
Thank you. Ag Committee, one thing, Mr. Creasy did a presentation to the Ag Committee at our last meeting. The ordinances that we've currently got on the books are aged. They don't reflect the commitment that this county has to agriculture. And so we're going to look at a number of them, but we're starting with an ordinance that will deal with a chicken house. We have a citizen who is starting to build a large chicken house on his property, and it's for layers, and they will be grass-fed, if you will. They'll be roaming out in the pastures, and he will sell organic eggs. We had to do some tweaks to our ordinance to make that possible for him. It will be the largest and most technology-efficient egg production house in the country.
When you say large, I mean, how large?
It's, if it were at capacity, was it 60,000? 60,000, it will not be at capacity because our current ordinance will not allow that. So I think it's at 40, Tyler, something like that.
That's a lot of deviled eggs.
So is this essentially like a large-scale chicken tractor where they move the animals?
No, it's stables and it's down Naked Creek Farm Road if you want to go right down there and look at it. It's up now.
Where is Naked Creek Farm?
Off 151?
Oh, okay.
You know where
Past
Steve
Clifford?
Martin used to live?
Yes.
It's down that road.
Okay.
So anyway.
That's pretty impressive.
So they're already building?
Yeah, I encourage anybody, and he has said he would like any of us to come and look at it. Once he puts the chickens in there, it's closed. You can't go in it. He can't let people in
For
it.
disease.
Yeah,
But they're free range.
free range.
So what do you? Oh, you can't go on the property once he puts the chickens?
You can't go in the chicken house. like when the chickens go in the house, he won't be able to give you a tour of the house. You can come out and look at it, you just can't go inside for,
If the chickens are in it.
yeah,
Well, even if they're not in it.
at all.
That's a lot of chickens.
A lot of chickens, a lot of eggs. It's also a lot of money coming to this county.
You know, say, that's a pretty big commerce item right there.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, there's.
I didn't know that. That's pretty, that's
Yeah,
pretty
and,
awesome.
and like I said, I encourage you all to, Scott Barnes, Scott, is that his name, Scott? No, that's not right, I've got
Scott
him
Barnes is
confused.
more sort
No,
of-
no, forget I said that. His name escapes me now, but anyway, if y'all wanna go
Gonna
take a
hear
look
more-
at it, go look,
Are
huh?
we gonna hear more about this, or is it a done thing?
More about the house itself?
They're just working on the capacity, right, Tyler?
We're working
Oh,
on
yeah.
the setbacks for a confined livestock facility. So right now, we permitted him to build the agricultural building, and we have a statement indicating that the total amount of weight of the livestock within that facility will not exceed what is defined as a confined livestock facility. That's how he's able to currently build the structure. However, we will be proposing a code change to the commission and then to you to change around some of the setbacks. And if that is approved, he would then be allowed to be considered a confined livestock facility and up the amount of livestock in weight within that facility.
When the ordinance was originally designed, it was designed to oppose hog houses, and that was 25 years ago, maybe. And so it just doesn't, the language and stuff just doesn't work now. And the gentleman's name is Scott Wagner.
Oh, that's Wagner Eggs, I'm assuming.
Pennsylvania. That's
Yeah.
where he originally was from.
Pretty big deal.
I'm not opposed to it, I'm interested in 60,000 chickens and that facility, what happens to the waste? Is it stored?
That's all, well, we can give you more information, but that's
Love to
all
know
within the ordinance now.
Yeah, I support it. I think the more we can support agriculture, the better. We'll be.
Absolutely. And everything associated with that was by right, correct? In the A1?
It is by right, however, the regulations and setbacks are pretty stringent. And so that's why, it is by right, but you still have to meet certain setbacks for that
Yeah, 'cause
facility.
he's gonna have to meet regulations a whole lot more stringent than us. I can assure you. So, that's good stuff.
Anyway,
That's
just
good
wanted to
information.
make you
That's
all aware of
exciting.
that. Departmental reports, treasury report, just for information only. Citizen comments, anyone here wishing to speak about anything? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close that. Matters from the board, Mr. Adams.
I have none.
Mr. Martin.
Oh, ma'am, thank you.
Mr. Pugh.
I have nothing.
Ms. Tucker. Nothing, thank you. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Adams, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done.
Getting you warmed up for next year, right?